Hello, and welcome to another episode of Heal Yourself with me, Sarah Dawkins. This is the podcast that enables you to understand how you can heal yourself and share with you people who have healed themselves as testimony that it is possible. And today, my guest is Sherille Marquez. Cherille's journey began when her 3-year-old son was diagnosed with cancer while she was 6 months pregnant with her youngest son. Her personal transformation started several years later when she went through a devastating divorce after divorcing her husband of 13 years because of an affair. Seeking help, she consulted 3 therapists, but something was always missing and her needs were not fully met. Sherille found the answers through years of self-study, trial and error. After rebuilding her children's and her own life, she felt a calling to give back. Now Sherille provides targeted support and transformative programs, empowering women to thrive post-divorce, improving their quality of life and their well-being. I would like to introduce you to Sherille Marquez. Hello, Sherille, and thank you for joining me.
Hello, Sarah, and all the listeners and audience. I just want to first and foremost say thank you so very much for allowing me to be on your show and expanding the impact that, it can be done, healing from not just divorce, but all of the different facets of what it means to be a woman, a mom going through such a devastating divorce stemming from a betrayal.
Yes, really shocking, really. And Sherille, during that time or before that time, you also healed yourself of something else, didn't you?
Absolutely. And that's what I wanted to actually start with because even before the whole divorce happened, in hindsight, I healed from body dysmorphia. And I had body dysmorphia for 2 decades. I didn't even know, yes, I didn't even know what body dysmorphia was. I was just going through it. And how it started is because I remember my when I was dating my ex-husband, he was an athlete and I was this I want to say I had more of I guess I had more fluff on me than I would have wanted, but now I consider it baby fat. I had old baby fat that still loved my body and held on to my body because after I had children, it kind of went away. But it started back when I was dating my ex-husband, and in fact, it's not as if it's the other person's fault because everything that happens truly we are in control of, whether we're aware of it or not. And so I allowed how the lack of attention that I was getting from him to dictate all of these mental challenges that I started to develop. Meaning, when I say mental challenges, meaning I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough. Oh, he's an athlete, he probably wants somebody fit. So, all these stories started becoming a normal thing when that never even happened to me before. Before that, I was actually a little bit chubbier in high school, and I was with a high school boyfriend who thought I was just a trophy. And I never saw myself from a different set of lens when I was with my ex husband and we were dating at that time. So it's so important for all the listeners to also understand that it is critical and imperative who you link up with, as far as not even just a romantic relationship. It could be your friends, it could be an environment. You don't know how insidious someone's energy is or who they are. So if they're not uplifting you and if they're not valuing you for how you're showing up, the way that you are authentically, that needs to definitely be paid attention to because I had no idea. I was 19 at the time when my ex husband and I started dating. And so, again, going back to the story, that's how it started. And it started to build from there. Oh, he's not paying attention to me. He probably likes fit girls, and so why don't I just lose weight and see where it goes and see if he'll pay more attention to me. Well, that was the beginning of the end, Sarah. And so I did. I cut down, my eating, but I was very intentional with it. And I started losing weight. In fact, it was interesting because my sister's friends, they've known me since I was little. And so they've seen me and as I become chubby or not chubby. And so when I started to lose the baby weight, I'm sorry, the baby fat, they told my sister, and my sister told me, they were very surprised that your personality didn't change. You still stayed the same, which was a surprise to me because I didn't realize that as people lose weight, they actually transform into a different person. They become, I don't know what it is, more standoffish, or they have a little more ego. I'm not sure. I stayed the same. I didn't even see myself any differently, except for the fact that I did lose weight. However, Sarah, that still wasn't enough. I got to my skinniest point and I still didn't see myself for what I look like. I would pick at myself. I would tell people when they would ask me, why are you not eating? I'm like, what do you mean I'm not eating? I am eating. But what I was doing is I was just shuffling food around.
Yeah.
I was shuffling food around my plate. And there's this one thing that my sister told me that made me so sad every time I would think about it. She said, I wish you could see yourself for what you really look like. And I still get emotional about that because I feel very sad for that version of me that didn't know any better. And I feel very sad for the women that are tearing themselves apart because they don't know who they are and they put so much value on appearance.
Yeah.
That's what society does to us besides our programming. We have to look a certain way, we got to be a certain way, we have to wear 10 freaking hats just to seem like we got it together.
And that whole body dysmorphia as well, Cheryl, is you're looking at yourself and you're not seeing a true representation. Your mind is playing tricks on you and you're seeing yourself different from how you're actually looking.
That's exactly it. You see yourself different from how you actually look. I look back now at those photos and I'm like, what the hell am I talking about? But listeners, you have a distorted view. Your lens is broken. And so now after healing 2 decades of body dysmorphia, I can look back and confidently say to people, to clients, to anyone that if this relates to, ladies, your lens is broken. I tell my friends that all the time. Your lens, it's broken. I'll tell you why. You have no idea what you actually look like. You don't know. So let me tell you what I did.
Please.
So I actually stumbled upon this inadvertently, Sarah, like you did. You stumbled upon your healing accidentally, and I stumbled upon my healing accidentally. But before I talk about how I healed, I will also preface it with the fact that so I had lost all that weight. I stayed there. I'm actually a very active person and I like going to the gym, I like exercising, doing anything active. So I stayed fit for after that point because I found enjoyment in exercise, which is a great thing. So that was a really good side effect. Well, fast forward to my divorce. I lost weight. I lost about 8 pounds when I found out about my divorce. Actually, I want to say within that week because I had so many stomach problems and gut issues. And if the listeners or the audience they don't know, our emotions will play out in our body
Yeah.
before our brain can even process what is going on. So when I found out about the affair, actually, not even. It's just when he was doing out of character things. He went out for a drive and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning and he still wasn't home. I had already a huge suspicion that something was not right. something there has to be perhaps a third party involved because this is out of character. I went number 2 probably 5 times just in that one night because my stomach was a huge mess. So within, I want to say 2 days of that time, I had lost 8 pounds. That is not healthy. That is not healthy weight loss. So, okay, I lost the 8 pounds. It was confirmed that he was having an affair and the divorce talk is starting to happen. And I knew right away that I was going to get a divorce because anything and anyone that is going to prevent me from being the best mom I can be. And I know myself, I'm not going to be present with my children if my mind is elsewhere, thinking that where's this guy? Is he really being true to me? Is he really? I know myself. So I made a decision. It's a divorce. Well, divorce proceedings started, and I gained 28 pounds in 8 months after that. I had no idea that I was even emotionally eating. I was just in it. And nothing like this has ever even happened to me before, Sarah. I didn't even know what depression felt like because I'm a happy person. We're inherently joyful, happy, carefree, but it's all the stuff that is here in this world. And I'm not going to get too metaphysical, but we signed up for in soul contracts.
Yeah.
But it's hard nevertheless because we don't know.
No.
So 28 pounds in 8 months. I was emotionally eating unknowingly. I would find even like chips on my pillowcase just from a binge the night before. And I'm like, ooh, chips. And I'll eat that the next day. I mean, that's when you know that's pretty low. So going through that time, I was in that space of just pretty much losing my mind for months. And even at that time, I didn't trust myself to go to even simple grocery store runs because I knew that whatever it was I put in my cart, if it's not for my kids, I'm going to eat. So I would do these, sometimes they're pretend grocery store runs. I didn't really need it. I had food at home. But let's say, for example, one of my grocery store runs, I'd say, oh, I want to make a sandwich. Okay, so I go to the store with the best intentions to really make a sandwich. Well, I happen to like bread. Who doesn't? Who doesn't like carbs? So this one grocery store run, I put the ingredients in my cart. That big French loaf of bread, the French bread, was still warm from the bakery and I could not resist. I was like, let me just take a little piece. I'm going to pay for it anyway. So I can just, walk around, enjoy the little piece. Well, I did that, walked around, for a little bit. And my intuition said to me, Cheryl, if you take that home, you are going to eat all of it. That's not a good idea. So you know what I did? I put the loaf of bread back. But that loaf of bread had a missing piece, guys. So I'm still to this day saying I'm so sorry to whoever bought that piece of bread thinking that they had a whole loaf, but yet here I am. I took a big chunk out of it because again, I didn't trust myself
Yeah.
to take food home. I was even overly sampling at grocery stores. You know how they have I don't know if you guys have it wherever
Yeah.
you're at, but they have the free samples in containers. One one too many free sample runs. There was actually a guy that worked at the store that I would frequent, and he followed me and he's like, "Can I help you?" Uh, that's when I said, "Okay, I cannot be pretending to sample anymore because it was now becoming stealing. I'm stealing samples now.
Yeah.
It's not that I can pay for it. I just didn't trust myself."
Yeah.
So at that point, Sarah, I said something needs to change. What it was, I don't know. I had so much shame because of this weight gain.
Yeah.
I had so much shame because of my divorce ending, even though I didn't blame myself, but there is still that unraveling of the death of a relationship.
Yes.
Yes, and my children. So all these things happening to me. And one day I found myself sitting in my room. And this was when the healing started, and I didn't even know this. One day I was sitting in my room journaling, and a song comes on. It's by Bruno Mars. I think it's Treasure, or See Yourself the Way. It's something along the lines where, he was singing to someone. It was about a woman and how beautiful she is, just your smile. And I just lost it because I'm I looked in the mirror and I sang those words to myself. And I had the most cathartic experience I've ever had in my life, actually, because I was intently looking at myself. I must have played that song over 10 times. And when I say I was crying, it was not pretty. It was like, like from your soul.
Yeah.
All all of the shame and the hurt and
Yeah.
all of these things just came out, and I didn't even have a goal or an intention to heal. It's just that it clicked with me. I was in my room, the mirror was right there, and I looked at myself and I sang those words, and I just said, "Love yourself," or my intuition said that to me as that song was coming on, Sarah, and that was the moment that started my healing journey, because looking back, I can't even pinpoint anything that I did on purpose. It was just that moment. From there, I never saw myself the same way. And mind you, I still had the extra weight back then.
Yeah.
Nothing changed except for how I felt about myself after that.
And there's a few, can I just interject there, Cheryl? Because there's a few things there as well, isn't there? The first of all, the sobbing, the crying is a release of emotion and stress from your body. So that in itself is healing. And your intuition saying love yourself, the body dysmorphia stems from, it's a mental health problem, because I've had bulimia nervosa. It's similar but different. And there's an element of lack of self-love with the eating disorders and the body dysmorphia. So the three things together, the crying to release, and the intuition saying love yourself, because love is what heals us, isn't it? And a lack of love, especially self-love, can take us into that downward spiral and into all sorts of health problems.
I completely agree with you, Sarah. And as much as I'd like to say I have completely healed from, yes, body dysmorphia, absolutely. I have definitely completely healed. There have been times still with the emotional eating that is still a little bit there. And going back to your point of self love, that's what it is. Because I notice, and I don't know if the listeners or the audience can relate to this, but when I'm finding myself, my self-worth not quite there, not quite as strong. Perhaps I might have been comparing myself to, let's say, an old photo of me that the internet or the email reminder, hey, this is what you look like, I don't know, 12 years ago or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I need to look like that. That's exactly what I need to. So it makes me feel bad about myself. I'm starting to notice a pattern of what is triggering those very rare moments now of the emotional eating, because we have to just be so self-aware, hyper focused on what our triggers are, right, Sarah?
Yeah, yeah.
We
Our triggers are our best teachers. And like you say, when we become self-aware of them, we can identify, well, when that happens, it makes me feel like this. And when I feel like this, I reach for food. And it's all a chain.
it's all a change, and honestly deeply rooted in self-love, because if you love yourself and accept yourself completely, wholeheartedly, just as you are, and know that there are so many incredible, amazing parts of you. Let's just talk about the body. how it pumps blood, how, our diaphragm works, how like we're taking in the breath. I mean, we are a divine intelligence. Our bodies are antennas. And I even have to tell myself this when I'm like reaching for, the trigger foods. I have to slow down and say, wait a second, Cheryl, in order for you to really connect with your higher self and source, you have to have a high energy reverberating body, meaning feeding it food that loves us, not the processed food as much as humanly possible, because that's all chemicals, and it dims our light. I know, at least for me, for sure, that's what it does. I think that I have I think that I have detoxified myself so much, and I have just leveled up my frequency just vibrationally, that those certain foods, it makes me feel very, very low.
Yeah, yeah. They deplete your energy, don't they?
They
And make
do.
you sleepy. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, Sarah, it absolutely does. But that takes so much just intention, as far as being self-aware of what these things do to your body, like how you feel.
yeah. And the flip side of that as well is that when you're wanting and craving these foods, there could also be a nutritional deficit underneath. Like for chocolate cravings, it's often a magnesium deficiency. So it's
That's
about understanding the deficiencies as well. If you replete your magnesium, you're not going to crave the chocolate. But then conversely, dark chocolate isn't bad.
I know
Um,
there's there's so much out there. And to your point, Sarah, also I read a book. It's called In Light of the Moon. It's more of a like a metaphysical way of looking at what the food, or a holistic way actually, of what the food represents emotionally. Like for me, the chip.
right, right.
It made so much sense for me. Like the chips, it represented anger and frustration, the chewing. And
Yeah,
so the those different types of food is also a representation of, yes, not just our lack or we're deficient in some nutrients, but also because it's how we are emotionally.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I wish I had those resources readily available to me back then, but it's not. We're barely beginning to scratch the surface right now with people like you, Sarah. Thank you for your podcast and your book, and other healers, like people like myself who I've gone through it now. I've studied it, and now I'm helping others find a way forward. Like, here, there is this.
Yeah, yeah. And with the metaphysics, I mean, we can touch on it a little bit. It's so interesting. I love metaphysics, and it helps us to identify the root cause of our symptoms, our problems, our diagnoses. And by understanding that, it gives us more leeway, more access to heal that inner problem and then therefore heal the symptom.
I could not agree more. For me, this is why the traditional therapy, it gave me some answers, but I was still left missing like a lot of pieces of the puzzle,
Yeah,
because it wasn't enough. And there are, for the people that don't really resonate with that type of um, traditional therapy, it's because we need to bring more of the holistic approach, like the our ancestors, all the ancient, all of the, yes, back then. We need to bring, we already know that Eastern medicine, like the
yeah.
healing, all of that, all these different things that they were doing already.
Yeah, and I think in modern day medicine now we've separated all the systems out. So we've got the cardiologist, the pulmonologist, the oncologist, the dermatologist, and actually we, like you said, we are a whole. We need to treat ourselves holistically because every system interacts with every other system, and it's all intertwined. And you can't just separate it out and go, well, I'll just look at your brain and I'll just look at your heart because the, it's just together.
I could not agree with that. I'm so glad you pointed that out, Sarah. And not to take away anything from Western medicine, because with my son's cancer, we did do chemotherapy. However, I complemented that with all the research and my self experimentation of what organic foods and what to mix in with he had different kinds of chemo medicine. He had one that went directly in his portacath. He had one that I had to mix with food. So the ones that I can experiment myself, I want to know what my kids are going through. I want to know what they're going to be taking first for myself. Same thing
Yeah.
with my clients. My clients, I know what that feels like. I do
Yes.
hypnosis. I did not I never knew I was going to be a hypnotist, but here I am doing that. But guess what? As afraid as I was of hypnosis because I was uneducated in the process, I said, let me try it out first. Because
Yeah.
if I'm going to be serving my clients like this, I need to know what that feels like.
Exactly, exactly. And our own experience of it as well helps us to explain it to clients and, as you say, understand what they're going through and how they can deal with it.
That's so important. It's one thing to theorize, to tell me you need to turn to page 55 and do these breathing exercises. Okay, I did that. I still feel not that great. Now
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Someone needs to explain it to me in a way that I can relate to. And unless that person has been in the arena getting their ass kicked like I have been, I don't know. I don't care how many degrees you have. Can you help me?
Yeah, and sadly, Western medicine, because it's so separated out, is not holistic, and we can't blame it either. Because if you
No.
think about doctors' training, is sponsored by pharmaceutical companies, so they're trained to assess symptoms, group them together, give a diagnosis, and then link that pill to that diagnosis. So it's not the doctor's fault per se. It's the whole system that's grown up. Um, and until we get back to the old ways, the natural ways, using poultices and herbs and tapping into our own intuition and remembering that the mind and the body are so linked and we can't separate them out, until we get back into that, we're never going to do true healing. Because I believe that the pharmaceutical industry, the pills they provide literally suppresses
Mhm.
symptoms. And in symptom suppression, we are conditioned to believe that is healing. And actually, healing is far more than that. It's not about suppressing that symptom, it's about finding why our bodies needed to manifest that disease or that symptom and work with the underlying, the root cause and heal from that. And that is true healing.
That is true healing, Sarah. I could not agree with what you just said more. We need to take a holistic approach to identify why we're feeling this way, why we're doing what we're doing. And like you said, it's just a band-aid. And that's what I tell people. It's a band-aid. They're wondering why they're still doing the same thing after 5 years. Well, that's because you're not addressing the root cause.
Yeah.
And until you do that, change will not happen.
No.
Will not true change will not happen. You might pacify the situation for a certain number of, but who wants to do that? Then
Yeah.
you wake up and you're like, "Oh my gosh, a year has passed and I still have barely moved my life. Here I am trying so hard." No. And here's the thing, everyone, we have to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's what all of these drugs do. They numb the pain. These distractions. I mean, same thing with eating. Well, we're avoiding something. We're avoiding whatever it is, how we feel about ourselves or that particular situation. So we just turn for comfort. And that's
And suppress it.
and suppress it. But guess what? The minute that you allow those emotions to come up and hit all of your chakras, and it will hurt pain wise. I'm talking about, perhaps it might feel like physical pain, but really the emotional pain. Then the shakti, then the life force energy can come up from the pits of wherever you stored it, come up from out of you, and then back into the earth, like the universe, where it could be recycled, and you're no longer carrying that burden. One
Yes.
at a time.
Yeah, and acknowledge it as well, because often we've buried it because we don't want to acknowledge it. But I'm a big believer in you've got to feel it to heal it. So
Yes,
sit with those feelings, identify those feelings, but don't be in those feelings. Be the observer of them, and treat yourself with kindness, loving kindness and compassion, the same that you would give to other people.
that's right. And it's very, very challenging to even get to that point. And what I tell everyone is don't just you will overwhelm yourself if you are thinking and consuming like this kind of content or the next kind of content that, oh my gosh, I have to do so much. I got to do what? No, the very first thing everyone always asks me, especially clients, and this is what I do, I have to vet out my clients. I don't work with everyone because I have to assess the readiness. And it's not just the women right after their divorce. No, sometimes they think they're good. I thought I was good. I'm just gonna one, two, three this thing because I could be very cerebral that way, logically. But what happens after that is the unraveling of all of these different things that you had no idea that you have to actually face and deal with. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know what it was called, Sarah. I've never been depressed in my life. I just thought I lost my mojo.
Yeah,
That's what I thought it was. So
yeah,
it's just the very first thing that you do is you make a decision. You make a decision that you no longer want to feel this way. You make a decision that you want something different for your life. You make a decision that you want to be a different mom, a better mom, a present mom, and that you want to show up for yourself in the best possible way you can. That starts with a decision to change. Whatever that change is, it will come. But that from the decision and declaring that, that's how change actually starts.
yeah. And I think a lot of people, and myself included, when I was suffering from depression, I didn't realize I had the power to choose how I was feeling and make that decision to change.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that is so empowering to know that actually I don't have to feel like this. I can choose to go outside and be mindful and be joyful and choose happy. And because I didn't know, I didn't do it. I'm just like, I was in this
Mhm.
dark, black abyss for ages. And I think when we say to people, you have the power of choice, you can choose how you want to feel. A lot of people aren't like I wasn't. Like, well, how does that work? I feel like this. Well, what would it take to make you feel like that? Can you think of a memory? Can you do something? Can you call a friend? Will that make you, what you can consciously choose to change here and now, or you can do something and take action to make yourself feel like that. Either way, you're choosing to
Right,
change and step
right.
out of the situation that you're in,
Isn't that phenomenal? Just that
isn't it?
one thing, that one word. Like I can't tell you how many times someone's word, it was the right thing that they said that just shifted my perspective. And wow, did I take it to a whole other level, the next stage in my healing, the next stage in my healing. So I'm so, like, again, I'm so grateful to everyone that is sharing their story, and the platforms that is allowing to have that to be found, because we need more. And I, for one, could not have done it without all these people sharing their stories. Because I did years of self discovery, years of trial and error, years of that.
Yeah.
And in fact, Sarah, this is why I had to push myself to just be out there sharing my story. I resisted for a long time. Yes, I answered my calling of helping others, divorced women, show them the way, but I was hiding still. I was hiding behind static posts. I was hiding behind not being in front of the camera because I was afraid.
Yeah, you and both.
Yes, and look, we're doing the thing, and we don't know how this is going to impact. And it gets easier though, doesn't it? I find that it does.
Yeah.
That's true. It does get actually easier the more that we're doing it. It's magical.
It does, and it's healing, isn't it? Because we're stepping into an unknown, we're stepping into our fears, we're stepping into our the anxiety that we feel, and we're just doing it because we're choosing to grow our comfort zone and to heal and to be better and to show up. And we're making those choices.
Exactly. And I think that's important for the audience to hear also, that even in where we're at in our journey, we're still making decisions. We're
Yes.
still choosing. It's
Yeah.
just a different it's just a different version of where they're at. We're all in different like different journeys, different
Yeah.
places in your journeys, but ultimately the message is the same. You have to make a decision and you have the power to choose. What
Absolutely.
does that mean to you?
And step into it, step into that unknown, step into that fear. And the more you do, the more you will grow your comfort zone and build your confidence to keep stepping out.
That's exactly it. And the it's like if you were going to the gym and lifting weights, the weights do not get lighter, you get stronger.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm so I love meeting people who are in that thick part of the hard stuff, because
Yeah.
I'm able to just give them that moment of seeing themselves. Imagine what it would be like if you can just call out what you want
Yeah.
and then you go do it no matter what, because that's how much self-belief you have. But it
Yeah.
doesn't happen overnight. You didn't
No,
get it overnight, Sarah.
no, it's a process.
Yes, yes, the unraveling, all the, peeling layers of the onion,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's gonna hurt. It's going to, but it's worth it.
It's
Or right? Or is it worth it to see how much more time pass by as you
yeah.
stay here?
Yeah. Are you going to, where are you going to be in a year? Where are you going to be in 5 years? If you do nothing, nothing will change. But if you make small changes consistently, you will be in a whole new place.
A whole new place, that 1% rule. You just have to be 1% better.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might not even be that day. Like sometimes you take a day break because it's like, man, I gave so much of my 1% that, I'm just not, I'm out of it. But then you pick back up where you left off. And here's the thing too, not staying in that place for too long and making excuses.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell people, it's okay to have a down day. Just don't live there.
That's right. Exactly.
Make different choices. Sit with that feeling, be with that emotion. If you need the whole day, take the whole day. Just don't live there.
Exactly, Sarah. And I think that's so important that you say that also, because there's so much out there now in mainstream media. It's all commercialized. Like people are saying you just, you manifest and things need to be flowing, don't swim downstream, swim upstream, like just all of these other gurus or whoever, they're duplicating whatever they're modeling what people are saying. But what they don't realize is a person can hear that and stay stuck because they think things are supposed to be comfortable. Well, this is how I manifest my best life, by just ease and flow and comfort. No, you're missing a big point. You have to take action,
Yes. Yeah.
even when you don't want to,
Absolutely.
little by little.
Yeah. And on that point, Cheryl, could I ask you if you could give us one action step that somebody could do today to help themselves on their own wellness journey?
Wow, I think we said it a lot, Sarah. So I'm gonna lead with this. The very first thing, as we talked about, is number one, make a decision. Make a decision that you want to change where you're at in your life. You want to get unstuck. You want something different for yourself. And number two, the second thing that I tell people is, know that you are worth making this decision. You have no idea who you are. And your past experiences, what you look like, it doesn't define you. You are a powerful I get so emotional saying this, because if you only knew who you truly are, you would not be playing it so small.
I love that. Absolutely. And those 2 points are so powerful to help people on their journey.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Cheryl. Now, can you please tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yes, I am available on my website, www.sherilmarquez.com, and also on Instagram, Sherille Marquez. And I'm on the other social media platforms also, but Instagram is where I'm most active.
Lovely. And I'll put all that in the text under the video. Thank you for being a guest on my podcast today, Cheryl. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and all the listeners. Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Thank you. I'm sure you will help lots of people through this podcast.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this, please like and comment on the episode, subscribe to my channel, and share this with anyone you think would also enjoy it and would benefit from it. Thank you.